The sound the card made when it went through was silent. I only knew because the screen flickered and the number changed. Rent cleared. My balance went negative. Again. I didn't feel anything. Just stared at the little red numbers like they were someone else's blood pressure. It's always the fourth when it hits me. Not the first, not when it's due. On the first, I still pretend. Still move like I've got a plan. By the fourth, I know I don't. I was parked behind a Walgreens, engine off, trying to save what's left in the tank. Phone on the dash, glowing like an accusation. The rain was soft, just enough to make everything feel slower than it already was. I didn't even turn on the wipers. Just watched the drops smear across the glass until the streetlights blurred. I had a $4 ping come through for a McDonald's run, 8 miles out, no tip showing. I stared at it. Not because I was weighing the cost, because I already knew the answer, and I still didn't want to press anything. There's a kind of silence that happens inside your chest when you've gone too many months choosing which bill to pay late. It's not fear. It's not stress. It's just the moment you stop pretending you're going to catch up. I used to make plans, set savings goals, talk about investing, dream in 5-year increments. Now I just recalculate how many gallons I can get if I cash out tonight. I don't make plans anymore. I make trades. I trade sleep for time. I trade time for gas. I trade gas for another shift that might not even cover the trade. I think the thing that broke wasn't the money. It was the part of me that believed the number would go up again someday. I don't remember when I stopped thinking about the future. Not really. I just remember a day last year when I realized I hadn't checked my savings account in months. Because I already knew what it would say. I used to track everything. Expenses, miles, earnings per hour. Now I just try to keep the balance above the overdraft fee until the next payout hits. It's like living inside a math problem you're too tired to solve. The variables change daily. Gas prices, tip rates, delivery zones. But the answer's always the same. Not enough. Never quite enough. Tonight it's cold. Not the kind that makes you shiver, just the kind that makes your bones feel tired before you even start the car. My hoodie smells like fries and sweat. I've worn it 3 days in a row because laundry means quarters I don't have. I used to feel embarrassed about that. Now it's just part of the calculation, like everything else. Like how far I can go before I need to fill up again. Like how long I can wait before I eat. I've started skipping meals without realizing it. Not because I'm trying to save money, just because there's no space left in my brain for anything that doesn't scream. When the rent cleared today, I didn't panic. I just turned off the screen brightness and looked away. What am I supposed to do? Sell the car? Then I can't work. Quit? Then I really can't work. It's a loop. A small one. A shrinking one. My world's about 12 miles wide now, defined by gas stations, drive-thrus, and parking lots with decent reception. I don't go anywhere I can't write off. I don't see anyone who isn't a customer, a cashier, or a support chat that never responds. The only people who talk to me anymore are the ones who need something. I used to believe in climbing, that if I worked hard enough, I'd reach somewhere. Now I'm just trying not to sink faster. There's a heaviness that comes with realizing survival is your only metric. Not growth, not joy. Just making it through another billing cycle without something getting cut off. I haven't felt proud of anything in a long time. Not because I'm lazy. Because everything I do disappears by morning. Rent takes it, gas takes it, groceries take it. I hold the money for a day, maybe 2. Then it's gone. Like I'm just the middleman between the company and my landlord. There's something brutal about watching your own ambition starve. I used to want things, not fancy things, just a little room, a little quiet, a little rest that didn't feel stolen. I wanted to save, to build, to feel like I was moving towards something. But you can't build when everything's rented, even your energy, even your hours. I don't know when I stopped seeing myself in the mirror. When it became just another face in a car seat, waiting for the next ping to tell me where to go. The thing is, no one notices. No one sees the shift. Because on paper, I'm working, I'm free, I'm choosing this. That's the lie I told myself too at first, that I was doing this until something better came. But the better never came. And then I stopped looking for it. Then I stopped asking. Then I stopped hoping. That's what hits me on the 4th. Not the payment, not the balance, the silence. The part of me that used to knock on doors inside my head, asking for more. That voice is gone now. Or maybe it's just quiet. Drowned out by pings and receipts and the engine hum that never really turns off. I looked at that $4 order again. Still on the screen. 8 miles. 40 minutes round trip if traffic's bad. I can't afford to say no. I also can't afford to keep saying yes. I pressed accept anyway. Not because it made sense, but because sometimes you just need to move. To believe that motion counts for something, even when it doesn't. I turned the key. The car coughed. The rain kept tapping. I didn't feel like a person. I felt like a shadow with a delivery bag and a battery pack. Like a placeholder in someone else's life. I used to mark my calendar by paydays. Now I mark it by when things are due. I used to think money was a path. Now it's just the thing I lose slowly, repeatedly, every time the rent clears. And it always clears. That's the part I can count on. Rent clears. The rest? Me, my account, the fuel, the food. I'm what disappears. Month after month after month. That's what I was thinking when the app said, navigating to pickup. That's what I felt when the engine started, and I realized I hadn't spoken out loud all day. That's what it means to survive on borrowed time. To watch the month disappear before you even begin it. And to know it'll happen again. Just like this. Next month. On the 4th. The future got replaced by math I do at red lights. The cup holder is sticky again. I don't even remember what spilled this time. Probably the energy drink I got from the clearance shelf, 2 for $1. Some off-brand thing with a torn label and promises I don't believe anymore. I drink them anyway. Not for energy. Just so it feels like I'm doing something to stay awake. I do a lot of things like that now. Small rituals that look like effort. But really, they're just me trying to trick my body into not collapsing before midnight. The future doesn't exist anymore. Only shifts, only miles. Only the math I do at red lights. The last time I planned anything beyond a week was 9 months ago. I tried to build a spreadsheet, track my gigs, gas, tips, wear and tear, estimated taxes. I gave up after 3 days. Not because I couldn't do it. Because looking at the numbers made it real. And I didn't want it to be real. It was easier to just swipe the card and hope the balance would hold a little longer. It's always $12. Somehow, I'm always trying to stretch $12 until Thursday. 12 for gas, 12 for food, 12 for the oil change I keep rescheduling, 12 for the copay I never make. I budget in fragments now, in the time between stoplights, in the silence after a bad tip. In the moments I don't want to calculate, but have to. I don't think about savings anymore. That word doesn't even feel real. It's like a foreign language I used to speak before my tongue got tired. I had an emergency fund once. $2,000, give or take. Took me months to save it. Lost it in 3 weeks. 1 month of slow orders, 1 dead alternator, 1 rent increase. Now I have negative 31 cents in my savings account and a checking balance that only survives on overdraft forgiveness. I know how to count exactly how much gas I can afford at current prices. I know how far I can drive before the low fuel light isn't just a warning. It's a promise. But I don't know what it feels like to be okay. There's a receipt stuck to my dashboard. It's curled from the heat and stained from something that leaked weeks ago. I keep telling myself I'll throw it away. I don't. Maybe because it proves I bought something once. Maybe because the trash bag behind the passenger seat is already full of them. My car is a filing cabinet of failure. Wrappers, bottles, notes I wrote to myself about goals I don't remember writing. I found one last week that said, "Start LLC, set up business account." I stared at it like it belonged to someone else, like I'd picked it up off the sidewalk and was trying to imagine the life it came from. I used to think that would be me. Owner, operator, scaling up. Now I just scale back. Every week, every day. I know exactly which grocery stores have the cheapest bread. I know what days they put out the markdown meats. I know how to fake full with saltines and gas station coffee. The kind that sits in those burned out metal pots, warm but never hot, thick but never strong. I used to like eating. Now I see food as a decision. $5 on lunch is $5 not on gas. I stopped thinking of meals as pleasure a long time ago. They're math now. Fuel, burn rate, cost per calorie. I've skipped prescriptions more than once. Sat in the parking lot of a Walgreens and stared at the screen. $18.75 for something that might make me feel human again. Then I drove away because I needed gas more than I needed to feel better. Because the app was already buzzing. Because maybe I'd just sleep it off, even if sleep doesn't fix anything anymore. I've stopped responding to texts that start with, "When are we hanging out?" I used to try. I'd say I was busy this week, but next week looked better. I don't lie like that anymore. Now I just let the messages rot. Because explaining the truth is harder. Saying, "I don't know how to be present when my account balance makes my chest hurt," isn't something people want to hear. Saying, "I don't want to meet you at a restaurant because I don't know if my card will go through," kills the vibe. So I disappear. Not out of selfishness, just out of shame. It's a quiet kind of shame, not dramatic. Not the kind that begs for sympathy. Just the kind that makes you double-check your total before you pump. That makes you skip the snack aisle even when you're hungry. That makes you tell yourself that if you just push a little harder, maybe next month will be different. It never is. But the shame keeps whispering that it's your fault, that you're just bad at managing things, that you should have done better by now. There was a time I thought I'd be further along. I was going to go back to school. I remember looking up programs on my lunch break, saving links, calculating tuition. Now I can't even calculate how to take a day off without the math breaking everything. I haven't thought about school in months. The idea feels laughable. Not because I couldn't do it, but because I can't afford to imagine it anymore. Dreams cost time. Time costs money. And I'm bankrupt in both. Sometimes I wonder if anyone sees this. The way my fingers tremble at the card reader. The way I linger at gas stations, trying to decide if I should spend the last 5 or wait for one more ping. The way I fold receipts with precision, not because I care, but because it's the only order I have left. I've built a whole world out of scraps. Scraps of time, scraps of dignity, scraps of hope that show up just long enough to hurt when they leave. I used to think in big numbers. Yearly goals, retirement plans, 5-figure ambitions. Now I think in fives. $5, 5 gallons, 5 deliveries to make it worth the gas, 5 hours before I can go home, 5 minutes between gigs where I can breathe just a little without calculating what it's costing me. Red lights used to be annoying. Now they're the only moments I can think. I do the same math every time. If I take this next order, how much gas will I burn? Will the tip cover it? If I skip it, how long until another one comes through? If I take a break, will I miss the surge? If I stop working, do I stop eating? It never ends. Even when I'm not driving, I'm still driving, in my head, on a loop, always behind. I don't remember the last time I planned a vacation, or a weekend, or even a full day off. I remember when I stopped checking the calendar. It was the week I realized the only things on it were bills. There's no point marking time when time doesn't belong to you. The worst part isn't the hustle. It's the shrinking of everything, of myself, of my thoughts, of my life. It's not that I can't dream. It's that dreaming feels dangerous. Like hope is a credit card I already maxed out. So now I dream smaller. $12 until Thursday. That's it. That's the shape of my world now. A number, a deadline, a breath held between pings, and the math I do at red lights. Quiet, constant, desperate, just to stay afloat. I see rich people in the back seat while I'm wondering if I can make it to payday. There was a guy last night, maybe 35, maybe younger. Clean suit, expensive haircut, the kind you only get if someone else is paying for your time. He got in without a word, didn't even glance at me. Just tapped at his phone like I wasn't there. He smelled like some cologne I've only ever encountered through passengers. Not stores, not ads. Just moments like this, when someone sits behind me and fills the car with a scent I'll never wear. He was laughing before I even pulled out of the lot, talking about his quarterly bonus. 70 grand, can you believe that? That's just the Q1 check. He said it like it wasn't even money, just trivia. I sat in the front seat calculating how long it would take me to earn that. How many trips, how many tanks of gas, how many late nights chasing surges that never come. It's not jealousy. I'm past that. It's something colder, something more hollow. I'm close enough to touch the life I can't afford. But I never get to feel it. I carry it, I lift it, I deliver it. But I'm never invited in. I know the names of luxury buildings I'll never step foot in unless I'm dropping off poke bowls or overpriced wine. I've seen the interiors of penthouses only through partially open doors. White walls. Art that costs more than my car. I know which neighborhoods tip well. I know which ones pretend you don't exist. I dropped off a dinner last week. Filet mignon, truffle fries, some imported dessert with gold on it. The app said, "Leave at door." I walked up 3 flights of marble stairs, past a fountain in the lobby. I rang the bell just in case. A woman opened the door halfway, didn't look at me, took the bag without a word. I said, "Have a good night." She didn't respond. Door closed. The app buzzed. $1 tip. 1. For 40 minutes of driving, 20 minutes of waiting, 12 miles of gas, and stairs that left my knees aching. $1. That's not a tip. That's a statement. That's her saying, "This is what you're worth to me." There's something humiliating about watching comfort live so close. It's like being the invisible thread that holds the costume together. No one thanks the thread, they just wear the suit. Sometimes I sit outside these buildings, watching doormen nod at me like I'm part of the sidewalk. Like I'm not a person, just a car with a glowing sticker. I've waited in driveways where the gates open automatically, but no one thinks to open the front door. They don't see you. They see service. They see function. I'm the warm handoff between wealth and convenience. You learn not to expect conversation. Most people don't speak when they get in. Some put on headphones, some take calls. A few even talk about you while you're driving, like you can't hear them. I can't believe these people work 12-hour shifts just for delivery pay. One said that while I was merging onto the freeway with him in the back seat. I said nothing. Just gripped the wheel tighter and waited for it to be over. I've driven couples on first dates who joked about slumming it by taking a rideshare instead of their usual car service. I've delivered to doctors' homes with signs that say, "Heroes live here," while I sit outside wondering if I'll be able to afford cough medicine this week. There's a look people give you sometimes when they realize you're not who they thought. A glance at your hands, a glance at your clothes, a soft shift in tone, just enough to remind you where you stand. I've had passengers ask if I do this full time in a tone that sounds like pity dressed as curiosity. I say yes, I shouldn't have to. But I do. Then they go quiet, like hearing that broke their fantasy. They want their driver cheerful, temporary, someone passing through, not someone sinking into the seat with years of exhaustion already baked in. I've seen shoes that cost more than my rent, watches that sparkle when they check the time, like they're measuring a different kind of hour. I've carried bags worth more than the repairs I keep postponing. Every ride is a reminder. Every delivery is a mirror. I'm the reflection they refuse to see. I'm the cost of their convenience, the body that makes their life seamless. And in return, I'm given silence, or directions barked out like commands, or tips so low they feel like slaps. Sometimes they talk like I'm not there. They talk about deals and dinners, second homes and ski trips. I hear the names of islands I'll never visit, restaurants I'll never afford, problems I'll never get to have. One woman once said she was stressed because she couldn't decide between 2 handbags. Each one cost more than my entire paycheck that week. She laughed about it, said, "I guess it's a good problem to have." I wanted to laugh too, but I didn't have the energy or the heart. It's not that I hate them, I don't. I don't have room for that kind of anger anymore. It's heavier than I can carry. What I feel is smaller, more precise, a kind of quiet disbelief that I exist so close to something I will never enter, that I touch their lives every day, but leave no mark, that I hold the door open and disappear before it closes, that I keep them moving, keep them fed, keep them on time, and they don't even remember my face. The other night, someone tipped me 10 cents. Not as a mistake, as a decision, 10 cents. After a half hour of driving through traffic, picking up a huge order, climbing 4 floors because the elevator was broken, 10 cents. I stared at it on the screen like it was a joke. But it wasn't. That's what they thought I was worth. That's what my time, my effort, my body, my gas, my smile, even if it was fake, amounted to. 10 cents. And they'll never think of me again. But I'll remember. I'll remember the hallway smell, the way the bag tilted, the weight in my arms. I'll remember that feeling in my chest, like I was vanishing in real time. Sometimes I wonder if I'm more ghost than man, if I only exist between notifications, if I vanish when the door closes, if the seatbelt imprint on my shoulder is the only proof I was ever here. Because the truth is, I don't feel real anymore. Not to them, not even to myself. I see rich people in the back seat while I'm wondering if I can make it to payday. I hear them joke about bonuses while I check my tire pressure with my hand. I watch them scroll through options while I try to make a tank of gas last an extra day. And when they get out, I say, "Take care," like it means something. They never say it back. They never look back. And maybe they never should. Because if they did, they'd see what it takes to keep their life floating. They'd see me. And I don't think they want to. Not really. Not when I'm the price they don't want to feel. I'm tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. I didn't fall asleep, I just stopped. Engine off. Phone screen dimmed. No music, no podcasts. Just silence and the sound of the dashboard clicking as the heat faded out of the vents. I wasn't on a break. I wasn't resting. I just couldn't go anymore. Couldn't fake the next delivery. Couldn't make myself pretend it mattered if I hit the bonus. I sat there in a quiet parking lot behind a grocery store I couldn't afford to shop at. The only light came from a flickering lamp on the far side of the lot. It made the car feel like it was underwater. Like I was somewhere deep where nothing could reach me. Not even sound. My hands were stiff. Not from cold, just from holding the wheel too long, from clenching through traffic, from gripping the phone too tight every time it buzzed like it held the answer. My knees ached like I'd walked for miles, but I hadn't left the car in hours. I didn't even realize how numb I'd become until I tried to shift in my seat. My lower back screamed. The seatbelt indentation on my shoulder felt like a scar. My stomach made a low, empty sound. I didn't answer it. I didn't care. Hunger didn't mean anything anymore unless it affected my driving, unless it made me dizzy behind the wheel. There's a tiredness I've grown used to, the kind that sleep touches but never erases. But this wasn't that. This was deeper. This was the kind of tired that makes the world look like it's behind glass. The kind where even breathing feels like work. The kind where I don't want to die, but I don't want to keep going either. I just want to pause. Not in a way that restarts. Just in a way that lets me stop counting everything. Counting hours, counting miles, counting tips and gallons and overdue fees, counting how many things I've let go of just to stay afloat. People ask, sometimes, "How are you?" I've said "good" so many times, I've forgotten what it means. I lie automatically. I say "just grinding," or "doing what I can," or "you know how it is." They nod. They don't know. Or maybe they do and they're lying too. Either way, no one asks twice. And that's the part that hurts. Not that they don't understand, but that they don't want to. I haven't felt like a person in a long time. I felt like a statistic, like an icon on a screen, like a ghost with a delivery bag. Every interaction is a transaction. Every word I speak is designed to keep my rating above 4.7. I've apologized for things that weren't my fault, so I wouldn't get dinged. I've smiled through doors slammed in my face. I've said no worries to people who absolutely deserved worry. I've become polite in the way that only survival teaches you to be. But when I'm here, in the silence, in the dark, I don't have to pretend. I don't have to be professional. I don't have to be useful. I just sit. And in that sitting, something starts to ache that I didn't know was still alive. Something under the numbness. Something like mourning. Mourning the version of me that used to make lists, that used to look at job postings and imagine fitting into a role, that used to plan weekends, that used to think love was possible, or that stability was a matter of time. I miss being seen, not by customers, not by passengers, just seen, really seen. I miss being asked about my day, And knowing the answer mattered, I missed making plans that didn't start with, if I have enough gas. I miss silence that felt like peace, not like failure. I miss waking up without panic. I miss thinking rest was a right, not a risk. The damage isn't in my wallet. It's in my mind. In the way I flinch every time a payment fails. In the way I brace for disappointment. In the way I don't celebrate small wins because I know the crash is coming. I've trained myself to expect collapse, to pre-accept it, to adapt before the worst happens. I tell myself I'm just being realistic. But the truth is, I've forgotten how to hope without hurting. There was a time I used to dream. I don't mean fantasies. I mean actual dreams. Futures I believed I'd walk into. I wanted to open a food truck once. I looked up names. I drew a logo. I had a whole notebook full of recipes and route plans. It's still somewhere in my trunk, buried under an old jacket and a tire inflator. I haven't touched it in years. I can't. I don't think I'd survive looking at it now. The person who wrote those plans doesn't exist anymore. I outlasted them. But I don't feel like I won. The app hasn't buzzed in 10 minutes. I should be glad. I should be resting. But the silence doesn't comfort me. It haunts me. It makes me think about everything I've been avoiding. The debts I'm pretending aren't growing. The repairs I can't afford. The days I skipped meals and called it discipline. The texts I never answered. The friends I slowly let go of because being around them reminded me of everything I couldn't be anymore. I'm scared of stopping. Not just because of money. Because I don't know what's left if I do. If I stop moving, the noise in my head gets louder. The guilt, the fear, the questions. What if this is all it ever is? What if you never get out? What if you already missed the last door? I'd rather be exhausted than empty. At least exhaustion feels earned. But lately, even that's changing. I don't feel proud anymore. I don't feel resilient. I just feel worn, like something that used to shine but got handled too much, dropped too often, bent out of shape, still functional, still here, but not the same. I know this isn't sustainable. I know it like I know the gaslight is real even before it turns on. I know my body's breaking down. I know my mind isn't quiet anymore, it's just muted. I know I'm tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix, that food doesn't touch, that time doesn't heal. I don't need advice. I don't need inspiration. I just need a moment. One moment where I'm not being calculated, not being judged, not being rushed or rated or reduced. Just one moment to say, I'm not okay. Without having to add, but I'm working on it, because I'm not. Not right now. Right now, I'm just sitting here, in the dark, in a car that smells like old receipts and cheap coffee, staring at nothing, feeling everything, and wondering if maybe this is all it ever was. Just motion, just noise, just a life spent driving towards something that keeps moving farther away, and maybe never existed at all. I count time in tips now. I don't know what day it is, not in the way most people mean. I know it's the day before the electric bill hits. I know it's the day I need to refill the tank or risk missing the dinner surge. I know it's 3 days since I last did laundry, which means the socks are starting to repeat. But I don't know if it's Wednesday, or the 9th, or the second week of the month. That kind of time stopped making sense a long time ago. My calendar is made of bills now, of balances, of buzzes, of things coming due. The 15th is rent, the 3rd is the phone, the 22nd is internet. But only if I've caught up on gas by then. My weeks don't start on Mondays. They start when my bank lets the deposit through. I count time in tips now. $10 means I can stretch another day without choosing between food or fuel. 5 means I can breathe for an hour. 1 means nothing. But I remember it anyway. Not because it helps, but because it hurt. I remember the order, the distance, the silence at the door. I remember thinking, this might be the one that shifts the day, only to see a single dollar land like a joke. I keep working anyway. Not because I'm hopeful, but because what else is there? The app doesn't stop. The bills don't stop, so I don't stop. I just keep folding time into tasks and pretending that motion means meaning. I don't mark birthdays anymore. I miss them, even mine. Not because I don't care, but because I can't afford to remember. Joy costs money. Cake costs money. Being present costs money. So I make deliveries while someone else lights candles. I scroll past posts about dinners and drinks and group photos, and I tell myself it's fine. I tell myself I'm building something. But I don't know what that means anymore. What am I building exactly? A life I can't feel. A day that ends with nothing but receipts and an aching spine. I used to track time by milestones. Degrees, promotions, projects, trips. I had a version of myself in mind. What age I'd be when I made it. What success would feel like. I used to think wealth was a number. Something you reached, then rested in. I had a figure in my head. It changed over the years. First 6 figures, then just 5 stable ones, then just enough, then just not negative. Now I don't think about wealth at all. It feels made up. Like a word people use when they've never checked their account in the checkout line and prayed. Like a dream that belongs to people who still sleep soundly. The only numbers I think about now are survival numbers. How many deliveries I need before I can fill the tank. How many hours before the next promo ends. How many late fees I can rack up before something shuts off. My life is math I never wanted to learn. Subtraction in every direction. What I give up to keep going. What I cut to stay moving. What I owe, always more than what I have. I don't look at my credit score. I know it's bad. I don't check my health app. I know it's worse. I don't track dreams. I only track dues. I skip meals on Tuesdays. Not out of discipline, but because that's when the lunch surge starts. And if I'm not on the road by 11, I miss the window. I tell myself I'll eat after. But then it's 2. Then it's 3, then it's just not worth it. I'll eat later. Maybe. If there's a decent tip. If I have time. If the line at the gas station isn't too long. Hunger has become just another background sound. Like the engine noise. Like the app chime. Like my own breath. Sometimes I remember who I used to be. Or at least who I thought I was becoming. I used to imagine offices, schedules, evenings off, a place with a desk and a plant and a mug that meant something. I used to imagine coming home to dinner, to conversation, to stillness. I don't know if I ever really wanted those things, or if I just thought I was supposed to. Either way, they feel farther away now than they ever did. Like memories I stole from someone else's life. There was a time when I thought this gig work was a stepping stone, just something temporary, a bridge to something real. I told myself that for a long time, but bridges lead somewhere. This just loops, a circle I can't get out of, a trap disguised as flexibility, a freedom that costs everything except the right to rest. I can log off whenever I want. And then what? Be broke in silence instead of in motion? I've stopped telling people what I do. Not because I'm ashamed, because I'm tired of the look they give me. The pause, the nod, the That must be hard. I don't want their sympathy. I want their eyes to not gloss over. I want to exist outside of transactions. I want to be more than a service. But I've forgotten what that feels like. Even my sleep is scheduled around earnings. I fall asleep at 4 a.m. so I can catch the breakfast surge. I wake up in the afternoon, groggy and stiff, and chug water like it's going to undo the damage. It doesn't. My body hurts in ways that don't show. I bend wrong and my knee cracks. I lift a bag wrong and my shoulder stings. I don't see doctors. I don't take days off. I don't ask for help. I just keep going. Because I don't know what stopping looks like anymore, or if it's even possible. And yet, there's this memory, a flicker, of being 12, sitting in a car with my mom, watching her fill up the tank with exact change. I remember asking, "Are we rich?" And she laughed, said, "Not yet." Said it like it was a certainty, like wealth was waiting just a few good months away. I believed her. I believed in the not yet. I believed in the someday. I held on to that for years. Through school, through side jobs, through interviews, through plans that never quite landed. I believed in the slope of progress, in the idea that it had to get better, that the work would stack, that the effort would matter. Now I just try to avoid being evicted. I try to make it through a week without borrowing. I try to make it to Friday without breaking. I try to keep my rating high enough to stay on the app. I try not to get deactivated over something I can't control. I try to drive like I'm not tired, like I'm not hungry, like I'm not wondering if the car will make it another month. I don't chase wealth anymore. I chase moments without dread. I chase orders that don't feel like punishments. I chase the hope that maybe, just maybe, this next tip will be enough to loosen something in my chest. I count time in those moments now. In breaths that don't feel like calculations. In silences that don't feel like shame. In hours that don't cost more than they give. And still, I keep going. Not because I'm strong, but because I don't know what else to do with the weight. I don't have a plan. I have a list of things I owe, a few dollars in quarters, and one more shift before I sleep. I used to dream about wealth. Now I dream about not getting evicted. I don't think that's the same thing.